Let me see. Turn this on. It is so late. Um, 1,000. We're I'm gonna have to relabel this because it's 1,158 days now since Richard vanished from the barracks there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. We're burning the midnight oil. Can't be helped because information pours in, and we have to go through it. And of course, we don't have a large staff. We have to, manage our life and then spend the time going through all of this information. Yesterday, we received a large packet in the mail. We're going through it today. Another um, just mounds of information coming in from support now, from institutional support, on top of all the other mountains of evidence that we have collected over 3 years, that we've recorded, collected, saved, snapshot, what everything. Um, and what is it pointing to? What is it circling? Of course, the murder of our son, Richard Halliday, the whistleblower, the Vanessa Guillen first absent soldier, the distinguished honor graduate for his cycle and basic training and AIT, the CID intern through Park University, the Park University student, the um, the aspiring law enforcement soldier. Uh, that is what Richard is, and the false narratives out there. And I'm going to look at my Facebook to make sure everything is working. The false narrative out there, would have everyone believe at the beginning that he was opposite of what he is. And we knew him better. And it's easy for us to pick out the lies because of knowing him. But they're masters. These people, Leilani, Hart, they're used to luring and enticing and manipulating people, and also with James Hart, I would say he's a master at manipulating people, and because uh, part of the information that we have been receiving is these reports that Leilani put in, um, and saying that her husband was falsifying her signature, forging her signature, and um, working fraudulently against her. And in all these reports, lots of public information, always claiming that he is having an affair. And I know that from speaking with Dallas Hart, who was telling me on the phone that his father was having an affair with two women um, at the time that I was speaking with him on the phone. So, okay, you can say, oh, well, whatever. No, no. He is a public servant with the VA, and he is working deceptively in his private life, which is not allowed when you're working for the IDES Pablo, right, which is the health board for disabled veterans benefits. And, when you are a liaison and you have access, when you have access to the amount of very sensitive files, including all of these veterans' medical files, right? Um, you can't work deceptively in your life. You have to be an upright citizen, and be trustworthy to hold a position like that and get the pay that you do for that, because of the extra demand and the scrutiny that you need to be held to when you're working with other people's lives and sensitive information, right? And I think that we have grown so lax as a society when it comes to, um, who is handling our sensitive information, who has access to our lives, to our information, because in this world, it's so easy to collect almost every thought that you have. Um, I know, people have told me over and over again, and I've experienced it myself. You could be talking about a certain need, um, let's say teeth whitener or something, and then all of a sudden on your phone, all of these commercials, ads come up for teeth whitening products. So, people have told me all about that several times. So it's the information, the sensitive information is out there, and we need to hold people that have absolute access, easy access to all of that collective data, right? The collective data in a file about each individual person, even the medical. And, they need to be held to great scrutiny. They need to be vetted. They cannot act deceptively in their lives. And when there's charges of infidelity, when there's charges of incest, when there's charges of child pornography, when there are, and I shouldn't say charges, I should say allegations of child pornography, allegations of um, the infidelity and the sexual assault of a 7-year old, um, the allegations of life threatening uh, harassment and the purchase of illegal weapons, and that information is I'm going to tell you that information we're getting corroborating evidence, testimony that they were indeed buying illegal weapons. Okay? They were indeed buying illegal weapons. I just want to tell you that those allegations are getting stronger and stronger. And I know the allegations for infidelity is the strongest one. So, not everything that Leilani Hart says is a lie. Now, we know that she absolutely doesn't mind being a false witness and lying to law enforcement authorities, that she is very manipulative, and uh, will, stop at nothing, stop at nothing to try to manipulate life to whatever she wants it to be. And, being it using the truth and or telling lies, or a false witness, which means twisting the truth. So, absolutely, it's known. There is a lot wrong at Fort Bliss. Sorry, I was just doing some research about someone connected to Fort Hood. Um, but Fort Bliss, there's a lot wrong at Fort Hood, Fort Cavazos. There's a lot more wrong at Fort Bliss. And there's a lot even more wrong in the Hart family. And why is that important? Because they are the main suspects, with Tavita Nusa, of course, and with Jay Paulin, and with Belen Rocha. The lead of this is Leilani Hart, and the circles around her were pretty powerful, including Kacherga, who absolutely, I believe, because I don't think, I spoke to Angela Kacherga, Miss Kacherga, the award-winning journalist for, well, she works at UTIP too for the paper there, for El Paso Matters and for KTIP. And I know that she's not dumb, okay? I know that she has been around the block, right? And she has met way more people than I've met that are dignitaries and things like that. Um, and spoke, to so many different people. So she's a seasoned um, journalist with lots of experiences, and yet she wants us to believe that she did not vet Leilani Hart or David Poche. Um, come on, and that she does not know, did not vet our key witness. That no, sorry. But the thing is, uh, she kept that. She kept that out of the hit job, the attack dog article, that really essentially is an attack on the investigation into the whereabouts of a missing soldier. Um, and I told her, that she absolutely needed to resend that because it was interfering in our case. Um, uh, because what it did is it gave leverage to the JAG, that they didn't do a simple background check. They didn't even do an investigation. Um, they didn't even notify the key witness before they retaliated against um, a whistleblower, because that's exactly what he is a whistleblower, and a key witness in the case, the murder case of our son, a soldier there at Fort Bliss. And I think that that's really, really important for people to understand the the importance of the crime that El Paso matters with Miss Kerchurga, um, what she did, what she committed. And this is a huge allegation, um, that, 100%, 100%, you know, you don't have to doubt that. It's a reality. And just like the sun will rise in the morning, Ms. Kacherga interfered in the investigation, um, of the murder of our son. And that's obstruction, right? That's tampering with a whistleblower, or I would say intimidation of a whistleblower, tampering of a witness, intimidation of a witness. They're very serious crimes. And that's what she did. And so we cannot downplay that. There's so many serious crimes in all of this. Um, Let me make sure. Was I on? Make sure that I am on. Yep, it looks like I'm on. And I can. Thank you, Anicia, for coming on. Thank you so much. Let me turn that down so I can see. The thing that I wanted to talk about today, oh my gosh, there's so much information came in, but is this Interpol, is the setup. It's really, really important because the Interpol was messed with. And I don't think that Interpol is going to take that lightly, is going to be happy about that. And what happened is the law enforcement that contacted Interpol provided um, a tampered with photograph of Richard. And it's not Richard, okay? The measurements are all off. And I provided two pictures on Facebook and on Telegram for an example. And these were like a little side view. We have more. We have a lot more. But just to demonstrate, just a side view, you would think, okay, that wouldn't be that high. It wouldn't rate very high. For Richard, it was 9%. Um, But for Dallas Hart, even with shades on, even the angle being off like that, the measurements are too great there. And it registered at 53%. Now we have the measurements coming in. He had a nose job. That's what I was told. He had a nose job. And who told me that? I wonder if it was Amber Chase. I Anyway, so this older picture um, comes in almost at 90%. Okay. The newer pictures uh, in the 80s and the high 70s. Richards never gets that. Never. I mean, if it gets to 20%, which is shocking because when we looked at it, you can clearly see that it resembles Richard, but the measurements are all off. It's definitely a composite. It is a mockery. And it is a mockery of Interpol. It's a mockery of this case, of this investigation. And what it really mocks is the search for the whereabouts of Richard. Because, of course, we know by the testimony that we have that they already had Richard's remains. And is that one testimony? No, it turns out to be more. It is the PAO who's testifying that they were looking for Richard's remains and that they were working with the Department of State there in Juarez to find um, partial remains of Richard. So they already knew he was dead. Okay. It is, um, of course, this latest soldier saying that that's an open secret. They already had his remains early on. It's the FBI man that said you can take down the flyers. Um, they already found him. He's dead. Shh, shh, right? It's also the Department of State contact from us who uh, absolutely, when we contacted them after we were at the Dollar General store and heard from the cashier what the FBI employee had said to her, we called him up and he said, "Oh, yeah, the FBI were looking for Richard's remains, his remains, right? Um, not alive Richard, but that they were looking for a dead Richard." And so it's not just one testimony, it's many. And so this Interpol is a mockery. This Interpol picture is a mockery. It's, and it's very criminal. It's so criminal. So I think that's very, very important. And now they know that the Hart family is registered for them as suspects, and that the composite that we believe, after running many, many pictures, okay, many. We've had to take our time on all of this because we, um, you know, we're the family. We're just the family. We're not trained investigators. And yet, the command and CID made us the chief investigators of our son's case. And so we've taken that very, very seriously. And we have tried to be as accurate as possible, even without the training. And look at what we have uncovered. Can you imagine what a trained investigator would have? This case would have been already finished, and we would have our son's remains, and we would have closure. Um, but you see, uh, you know, we are still we're still going to get that. It might just take a little longer. And thank you so much. And I just saw um, the support that the soldier is getting, the active duty Fort Bliss soldier is getting, that put in the request for the congressional inquiry into the JAG office at Fort Bliss and the SOPs in the barracks where the young girl was living in the barracks being prostituted out, and of course, all the injustices in Richard's case. And we received word today that that is moving forward. So thanks to you. And I just saw that we're getting close to 200. I think we have like 191 signatures. Let's see if I can pull that up and see if I can give you an accurate number. So we're almost at 200 signatures. I hope that we can double that because that congressional inquiry, of course, Veronica Escobar has to do her duty in this. My internet doesn't want to work. Um, so, that is moving forward. So I know it's very, very late, but I have other things to address here that happened today. And I know it's Friday night. So, the warrants, we are very, very close now to receiving all of the copies of the warrants in Richard's case. That's huge news. Huge. Um, there are many more warrants. I think over 15 warrants. Okay. I think it's almost 17 warrants if I'm right. I don't, we will see. And we are about to receive, I have to say it again because this is very, very important. Receive copies of all the warrants that were issued in Richard's case so far, up till now. That is huge, huge news. Um, yes, what else? There is, okay, let's talk about this DUI. What we have found out about the DUI. Um, so we know it was a setup. We know that on July 9th, 2020, an agreement had been made to dismiss the case because there was nothing there. And let me tell you what we have found out that the initial police officer that stopped Richard, his excuse in the parking lot was that his headlights were not on, but there's no video. Okay. Um, Anytime you stop someone, the video turns on when you put your lights on and that. Um, a video starts. There's no video, okay, of the stop with Richard. And his excuse for stopping him, and of course, in the parking lot, you don't have your lights on a lot of times, and that's not against the law, right? But it is he did not have his headlights on. And very curious is that this police officer was a K9. He had a K9. He was a K9 police officer. So he had a dog with him. And uh, look, there's no evidence. And if he's a K9 in the middle of the night, we're talking about midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. Um, this, y'all, a K9 in the middle of the night, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, is stopping Richard, and there's no evidence. That dog can't smell anything because there's nothing there. And this is really important news because this limits who was the compromised law enforcement. And we know the name. We know the name. But I'm just saying, K9, very interesting. How did that all happen? Um, so we're, and that's just kind of rhetorical because we're working on that. These connections, because you can say, okay, that's a compromised officer, but why? Why are our law enforcement officers becoming compromised? Who's the ones that are doing the damage, putting the stumbling blocks? And I'm not making excuses for the officer. I'm just saying, who is you know, who's developing this culture at Fort Bliss and in El Paso, that we have so many that we trust, like our generals, that have totally betrayed us, right? I mean, think about a Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe. He's Beelzebub's, I call him Beelzebub's brother, and his SJA. I can't even tell you what we call him from the very beginning. Um, but they were in those meetings with us, and they didn't tell us that Richard was a student at Park University, that he was a CID, intern, that he was a whistleblower, that his DUI, uh, you know, uh, allegation had been dismissed 2 weeks before he even went missing. They didn't tell us all this. No, they weaponized it all. They weaponized it all, and that makes them far worse, I think, than the perpetrators. I really do, because they are entrusted by the taxpayers to have our soldiers sick, to have some ethics, right? To have a code of conduct and to follow that code of conduct and to be an example to their soldiers, to their service members. And we give them their paycheck. We give them their uniform. We give them those stars, those stripes, and they have forgotten that. And we've just trusted that the whole chain of the system would work right, and that we know there's always some corruption in there because we're human, but we're talking about major major injustices that we don't even have a justice system. It's just a system instead of a justice system, and without justice, we know that through St. Augustine, then we're just a criminal cabal. We're just a criminal syndicate. We're just a band of robbers, just a band of thieves. And, people will not stop at robbing your purse, or robbing your house, but they will rob your children, and they will rob you of your life. And you know, this is the destruction of a society that does not have a justice system. And so, it's allowing the corruption to go into our law enforcement. And we absolutely need law enforcement, don't we? But the corruption is in that law enforcement because the justice system is failing. And um, this active duty soldier on Fort Bliss who put in the inquiry, who does he mention? Who is he really concerned with? The JAG, the justice system. He's saying that they're not taking the soldiers' fraud, waste, and abuse complaints and dealing with them. They're allowing the 14-year-old girl to live in the barracks and being prostituted out. They're allowing all of these SOPs to be broken, including, illegal drug sales, also the inventories for all of our equipment and weapons and ammunition. That is, that's a big criminal syndicate, that they are smuggling those things. And the JAG is just not even listening to what's going on and doing their job of prosecuting and helping the police to enforce the law. That's it, right? To enforce the law so that we can have a law abiding society. And so that's what's causing all the rapes. That's what's causing all the suicides. That's what's causing all of the child sex trafficking and the uh, predator society on so many. And yeah, the child pornography. And look at the illegal gun sales, um, even in the Hart family. And Leilani Hart, you know, uh, getting upset saying her husband's having all of these affairs when she also is having affairs. It's just deception begatting deception. And so there's a lot of deception around Dallas Hart, right? There's a lot of deception around that. And that needs to all be clarified because these people that claim certain things in this case, um, the likes of Corinne, the likes of Leilani, the likes of Chris Martin, who, oh my gosh, talk about law enforcement, and the corruption of it. Um, they uh, they are tampering with this case, and they are in deception mode, and they've told us things about Dallas Hart without giving proof that is official proof, right? Uh, where is the chain of command? Where are the orders? Where are um, pictures? Where is, and so it is, especially when we have witnesses, right? So there's a lot of deception, and that all needs to be worked out. Um, this this case, November 9th, 2020. Um, let's see. Yeah, the deadly conduct call, where Leilani Hart called to say that her husband was trying to kill her, and that that was about the same time. No, I think that was October 26th, and Richard's Social Security number activity was on November 9th, 2020. So we're getting to the bottom of so many things, but we need to support this soldier for this congressional because that is going forward and that would help us so much with so much extra institutional support. Um, because now we're going to have to go through all the warrants very carefully and see what they're all about, just like all of this HRC paperwork, whole packet that we received, going through that. Um, and oh yeah, the canine, which I talked about. Um, so that is the main the main report for today. And let's see what Anicia, thank you so much for the prayers. Danielle, thank you. Is there a disability claim for Richard? I am getting that because his social security number it has been tampered with, and because there's so many claims that James Hart is dealing fraud with social security numbers, and we put in uh, a concern with the IG of the VA, the inspector general, saying you need to look at this because there is a lot of suspicion here that this is happening. And, I'm just wondering, um, with this chaptering, with all, can you imagine how he felt 2 weeks before he disappeared? Them telling him, oh, yeah, there's an agreement, no DUI, but him having to have gone through that field grade Article 15, that was the basis for everything. That was the basis for the GOMAR, for the chaptering, for the field grade Article 15, for all the harassment. I can't tell you how many screenshots, that they were just calling him every name in the book because of his whistleblower status. He was so courageous to stand up against them and take that kind of torture, really torture, mental and physical torture, and professional torture. Um, and for it all to be, founded on nothing, groundless by a canine cop, who has a connection with that. and nothing, and it to be all dismissed 2 weeks before. And I'm just, what did Clem Coward say, right? Did he take back his Gomar? Because that Gomar is so sloppy. And that was made permanent. That was made to injure. Okay? That Gomar was not to discipline, to rehabilitate a soldier back to duty. That was a made to injure. The chaptering was made to injure. The field grade Article 15, Richard just had one counseling slip for 0.04 BAC. I mean, they could never get their numbers right. They were so sloppy that it was clear that they had nothing, because you can only get that sloppy when, you know, um, you just don't care. You just, yeah. Um, and you're destroying a person's life and livelihood. 3 ranks, demoted 3 ranks. You know what? You know what's worse about that? The mental, the mental uh, injury to a person when you do that to them. Okay, it's not so much about the money, y'all. It's the mental injury, and what also that does is he was put to the lowest rank so that everybody else could pick on him. Everyone else was given a green flag to harass them at will if they so chose. And they did. And they did. So I'm sure maybe there was a kind one in there somewhere that saw what was going on. But where are they? There's a $150,000 reward. There's a phone number, 941-677-0060. And we have hard evidence that there was nothing there. And now we have hard evidence that in his official archive file, there is nothing there. His Gomar is there, but the chaptering is not there. They have no record of it, and they have no record of the field grade Article 15 with maximum punishment and then some. No record of it at all. And so, and we knew already that the border incident that they tried to use, there was so much evidence against that they couldn't use it. So all they could tell us was, we take underage drinking seriously, over and over again, because that was their basis. That was their excuse for the injury that they were doing to Richard. And now to find out that an agreement was made on July 9th, 2020 for its dismissal, and the SJA and Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe still weaponized it and chose not to tell us, like we would never find out. And it's very possible that we would never have found out, because we're 3 years in, you know, and they do this regularly and they get away with it because people never find out. I'm just wondering, what else have we not found out about? Because I have real information that they buried Richard's remains after they were done with it, right? After they had taken the life out of him, that they buried him in a shallow grave. And I need clarification on this, because I've heard that they went back and they dug it up. They dug it up because they were afraid. And, we have someone from the inside circles giving us information now. And they were afraid. And they, Van Buren was like their clubhouse, where they would meet, their devious little den, their witchery den, their warlock's den, and that they would meet to plan this out. And they had decided that dig him up. They had to dig him up, and um, they had to mess with his body, and not only dismember it, but that they had to um, alter, try to alter it so that it could not be identified. So this is, and then this plane thing is really big because we did get confirmation on the plane now with the pilot, and the pilot, was using a different last name for their pilot's license. So this is, all coming out, and there's going to be knocks on the door. Um, God's timing. I hope very soon, for the sake of all of our service members that are in, you know, in this very, very dangerous Fort Bliss. A lot is wrong on Fort Bliss. And the CG on Fort Bliss, it's like he's impotent. He's impotent. He can't do anything. I mean, where is he? Where is he? He should have PAOs out there, um, uh, running around setting up press conferences and announcements, um, and exerting his 2 stars that we gave him in that beautiful uniform, and he isn't. It's like, he's made impotent by somebody. And, of course, Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe is his raider, and we know that he's up to no good. We know he's Beelzebub's brother. So, what's going on with Major General Eisenhower that we've cornered? We've cornered him. Um, and we'll see what his next move is. Um, but I would like to see him show some strength for the sake of our military, for the sake of Fort Bliss, for the sake of every soldier. I would like to see him show some strength and some moral fortitude. I would be cheering that on. But that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing um, a very weak person underneath our beautiful uniform with stars. How did they give him stars if he shows this kind of weakness in this simple case? And do just because it's convoluted does not mean it's not simple. It is very clear that a key witness in the case of Richard Halliday's murder was retaliated against for by the very person that he blew the whistle on. Very clear. And that person is a convicted criminal. And that by the JAG going along with this, with these connections, and I don't care if you're LDS or not, you do not do this. You do not obstruct justice, right? You know better. And of course that the lawyer that's LDS helping her, um, uh, and unhelping everybody else, okay, harming everybody else by helping her. Because we're talking about the murder of a soldier on Fort Bliss for whistleblowing. This is a whistleblower being murdered. This is what this is. A CID intern whistleblower being murdered. This is huge. And being murdered by those in connection with the CID office. That's what this is. That's the seems like it. Seemingly, apparently, allegedly, that's what's happening. And, so um, I think that Major General Eisenhower should show some moral fortitude and some love for his soldiers and for Fort Bliss and for El Paso, the greater El Paso area. Um, Absolutely. And so pray for him. Pray for him. Okay, let me take some questions. Because when these warrants are given to us, oh my gosh, that is going to show so much, y'all. So much. Who was arrested? Whose homes were searched? Um, where did they dig Richard's body up from? All of those are the warrants. The warrants are very, very important, and um, we have to figure out, okay, what are we going to work on? Should we work on all of the phone records, or should we work on the warrants, or should we, so we're very, it's been, yeah. So we're, say a prayer for that. But we're very close, so close that we felt that we could tell you. Okay. Does he lack confidence, or is this less than confident? Can you get a Gomer without chaptering, or get chaptered without a Gomer? A Gomar is GOMOR, General Order Memorandum of Reprimand. And you can get a Gomar without being chaptered, but if it's made permanent, then that starts the chaptering process, because a permanent GOMAR means you're permanently flagged. You cannot go to schools, you cannot get promoted, you cannot go to certain training, you are done. Okay, that is the destruction of your career to get a permanent GOMAR. And uh, it- that's why that is really, and the Gomar was messy. It was using the very questionable, we have two records: refuse, 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 um, testimonies of records to refuse, 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 or oh, uh, this breathalyzer. Oh, was this? It was that. It was this. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Finally, finally. It's kind of like this whole border thing. They could never get anything right. It was 0.115. And I'm like, what is it? Right? And then it's not admissible in a court of law because was the calibration off? And where is the alcohol? Where is the smell of alcohol? Where's the dog? Where's the canine now barking, right? Where's the video? Where's the video? And so there was nothing there. They agreed to dismiss, and so why is the Gomar still there? Right? Because the Gomar based its retaliation um, on that breathalyzer. It was on that breathalyzer. And if there's witnesses and records that Richard refused the breathalyzer, then what's going on? Okay? What's going on? So if the charges were dropped, why was Gomar not dropped? Why wasn't it? Because I can tell you right now, that is the indication that they were not trying to do their duty. They had weaponized their tools to harm, to hurt Richard for whistleblowing. So what that does is it puts Clem Coward in the suspect list. That's what that does. Clem Coward is a suspect of the Code Red because he should have absolutely apologized, taken that Gomar down. He's on the suspect list. And so is Michael Roddick. And I don't really talk about Michael Roddick so much, Lieutenant Colonel Roddick. And why is it that every time we look up these people, they have been demoted, um, or they're out of the military? Okay. So, why is Dallas Hart out of the military? Why did Tavita Nusa lose his badge and is out of the military? This is really, you know, my question is, why is James Hart still in that position? Absolutely, he to have that kind of power to train soldiers that he wants to answer the right questions the right way, to get high disability, to get the 10-point privilege, to get these jobs. You know, you get these 10-point privileges. Anyone that's qualified gets put to the side, and these disabled veterans get the job. Now that needs to end. That needs to end because that is ripe for corruption. And what that does is the people that are qualified for the jobs do not get the jobs. And then we have a very badly run government, right? And then we scream, oh, why is our government running so bad? Um, yeah, because we have unqualified people working the jobs. This is, and this is not just Richard's case that I've known about this. This is, you know, Rob, 30-year veteran. My dad, over 23-year veteran. My father-in-law, Air Force veteran, um, over 20 years. Um, my brother-in-law, you know, our family has been Go Army, has been a military family. And so, you know, we have experience and we have people that we know. And uh, yeah, he should not be trusted with people's records. And I'm talking about James Hart in this. And to have the family life that he has. Let's say she, you know, half of what she's saying is a lie. That's still one messed up family. I'm sorry. Go home, put your family in order, you know, and get some other job that you know, don't have access to other people's sensitive information. That's that's my opinion on that one. Because we're really, I'm going to tell you, James Hart is not Richard's father, and Leilani Hart is not Richard's mother. And why is his social security number tampered with? Why are weird things coming up when it comes to Richard's identity and Richard's social security number? Weird things, y'all. I'm just saying. You wouldn't think they would be allowed to give a GOMOR until individual is guilty and sentenced. Absolutely. Oh, you know, Clem Coward absolutely is part of this. And I've been saying this for years. For years at the beginning, I was like, that's one messy. That is a first grade Gomar. That is a stinky Gomar. That is, you know, that is a soup sandwich. That's what I called it, a soup sandwich. That is a soup sandwich Gomar. For months and months, I was saying that. And we even put out a petition to rescind the Article 15, the field grade Article 15, because it was so bad, so obvious that they had weaponized the Article 15, the field grade Article 15, against Richard. And we didn't even know why. And now we know why, because he was a whistleblower. Now we know why. Because he had inside information to the CID. He was in their circle. And that's why for months they were calling him on, you know, telling me with the text messages, he's a POS. That they had judged him. They had judged him and he's a POS. Right? That's because he didn't want to be part of their criminal syndicate. He didn't want to see children being trafficked, sexually trafficked. He didn't want children to be victims of these child porn films. He didn't want mothers to be prostituted out. Or have to be, sexualized out. He didn't want to be part of the drug trafficking, the narcotics trafficking. He did not want to be part of the weapons smuggling. Weapons smuggling. ATF was there. ATF was part of the um, meeting, the task force of 15 plus agencies. They don't come just because they are kind. There has to be a reason. Now we know why. There was weapons smuggling, and we have information and proof that there was weapons smuggling and ammunition smuggling and equipment smuggling and tampering with records, tampering with inventory. Um, so now we're, waiting for these warrants to come in because I think that that will be part of it. I think that was really part of it. So this is all around criminality going on, and y'all, and it even leads other places. I mean, so I'll let the investigators worry about that. I'll let them worry about this whole plane thing. This whole plane thing. Even, we've been told that removed um, partial remains of Richard and into Mexico. Okay, yeah, that's so big. Can you imagine? Um, so I know it's late. Thank you so much. God bless you for coming on so late. Tomorrow I'll try to get on a little earlier. Um, but we will do what we need to do to get this information, to go through this information, to get this information out to you, to get the information to the authorities. Because where is CID Quantico? Well, what? I mean, they should be all over this because we've sent them everything. Um, well, we've sent them enough. We've sent them enough. Okay. So thank you, everyone. God bless you. And please don't just sign the petition to support the soldier whose congressional inquiry is moving forward. Campaign for people to sign it. Campaign. Let's double it. Let's turn the 200 into 400. So thank you so much. We need to show him a lot of support because he's putting his life out there. He's this is huge crime that he's exposing with this congressional inquiry. So let's get behind him. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. God bless you.